At my husband's birthday dinner, his sister raised a glass and said, "To my brother, who deserves a wife who actually works instead of staying home all day." Everyone laughed, even him. I sat there, frozen, holding back tears. Later that night, I packed my bags and left a note. 2 weeks later, she got fired, and guess who replaced her at the job interview? It started at my husband Brian's birthday dinner. He was turning 38, and I went all out. I decorated the house, cooked everything from scratch, steak, sides, homemade chocolate cake. I even made little place cards for each guest, just to make it feel special. I'd spent the whole day running around to make sure it was perfect. There were about 12 people, his parents, a couple of his old college friends, and of course, his sister, Denise. I don't like Denise. Never have. She's always had something slick to say. Always treated me like I was a maid with a ring on my finger. She works in HR at some logistics company and acts like she's running NASA. Still, I was polite. Because she was family. Because I loved Brian. After dinner, when everyone was on their second or third glass of wine, Denise stood up, raised her glass, and smiled real wide. "To my brother," she said, loud enough to stop all the chatter. "Who deserves a wife who actually works instead of staying home all day?" And just like that, everyone laughed. Loud. Even Brian. He looked at her and chuckled. "Well, she does make a mean lasagna," he said. I sat there, frozen, holding my wine glass like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. My face was burning. My stomach twisted. It wasn't just the words, it was the way no one stood up for me. Not even him. I excused myself after that. Pretended I had to use the bathroom. I stood in there staring at my face in the mirror for 10 minutes, trying not to cry. I could hear them laughing in the next room. Having a great time. I don't think anyone noticed I never came back. Later that night, once everyone had left and Brian passed out on the couch, I packed a suitcase. Just a few clothes and my laptop. I left a note on the kitchen counter. "Don't worry. You'll have plenty of time to laugh now." I drove to Cincinnati. My sister Kelsey lives there. She let me stay on her couch. No questions. Just hugs and coffee and silence when I needed it. Brian didn't call. Not that night. Not the next day. Not even the day after. That silence hurt more than the toast. But I didn't break down. I didn't beg him to care. Instead, I got to work. Before I left the workforce, I'd worked in HR and recruiting. I'd stepped away after our daughter passed, stillborn at 38 weeks. After that, I couldn't sit in an office and pretend everything was okay, so I stayed home, supported Brian's career, handled everything else. I started updating my resume. I reached out to old contacts. I applied to job after job, not even thinking about Denise until I came across a listing at her company, Tri-County Freight. HR lead, Dayton office. I stared at it for a long time. Something about the timing felt off. I remembered her saying at Christmas that she ran that office. "No one makes a move without me," she'd bragged while chewing shrimp cocktail. So why was her job open? I applied. I didn't hold back. I added everything I'd ever done, even stuff I used to leave off out of humility. I emailed one of their directors directly through LinkedIn. Dan something. He got back to me within a few hours. "We've recently had a leadership change," he said. "Would love to chat with you." That's when I started digging. Turned out Denise had been let go the week before. Internal investigation. Multiple complaints. She'd been ignoring harassment claims, hiring her friends, lying on internal audits. Here's the thing. Years ago, she told me about some of that stuff while drunk on sangria at a backyard barbecue. I didn't forget. And when I saw that job opening, I made sure the right people had the right screenshots from her old social media. I never said anything that wasn't true. I just nudged the truth toward the light. The interview was short. They asked me questions. I answered with confidence I forgot I had. Dan said I was exactly what they needed. They offered me the job on the spot. Higher salary. Full autonomy. A whole team under me. I didn't ask what Denise was doing now. But Kelsey ran into her 2 days later, working part-time behind the bar at a local restaurant. She didn't recognize Kelsey, but Kelsey recognized her. And Brian? After 2 weeks of silence, he finally texted, "Can we talk?" I haven't replied. I'm just getting started. I didn't respond to Brian's message for days. I'd stare at it sometimes before bed, wondering what he really wanted. An apology? A chance to gaslight me into thinking I overreacted? Maybe just to make sure I wasn't telling anyone what really happened at that dinner. Kelsey told me to block him. I almost did. But instead, I let the message sit there. I wanted him to feel ignored. To sit in silence the same way I did that night. Work at Tri-Counties started fast. The place was a mess after Denise left. Paper trails didn't match up. Several employees came forward with stories about her playing favorites or covering for creepy managers. HR had become a joke. No structure. No follow-up. Just drama and chaos. I got to work cleaning it all up. At the end of my first month, Dan called me into his office. "You've done more in 4 weeks than your predecessor did in 6 months," he said. "You were exactly the hire we needed." I wanted to say I know. But instead, I thanked him and went back to my office. That night, I finally got a second text from Brian. "I'm sorry. Please. Just talk to me. I miss you." I didn't answer, but I did look him up. His Facebook was quiet. Barely any posts. But then I noticed something new. He and Denise had gone on a weekend trip to Nashville. Just the two of them. The post was from 2 weeks after I left. She captioned it, "Sibling therapy after a hard month." Nothing like whiskey and country music to forget the drama. Forget the drama? She humiliated me in front of a room full of people. My own husband laughed. And now they were out drinking together, acting like I was the problem. I didn't cry. I didn't throw my phone. I just stared at that photo for a long time and started planning. 3 weeks later, the HR team found something big buried in Denise's files. A pattern of fake resume referrals, people she hired for internal consulting roles who never actually worked. One name came up again and again. Brian R. Michaels. My husband. He wasn't just laughing at dinner. He was in on it. Denise had been creating false roles and funneling funds to his name. Payroll stubs existed, but no work had been done. Over $20,000 had been funneled through in 6 months. It was fraud. Clear, simple fraud. I didn't bring it to Dan right away. I sat with it for a few days. I printed copies, made sure the files were backed up, and then I called Brian. He sounded surprised when he picked up. "You're alive," he said. "I need to see you," I said. "It's important." He agreed to meet at a diner halfway between Dayton and Cincinnati. When I walked in, he looked awful. Tired. Unshaven. Still wearing that same old navy jacket with the fraying sleeve. He smiled like we were old friends catching up. "You look good," he said. I didn't return the compliment. "I know what you and Denise did," I said. His face didn't change. "What are you talking about?" "You stole money. You let her run fake contracts through your name." "I have the files." Still no reaction. Just a pause. Then, calmly, he asked, "What do you want?" There it was. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I didn't know." Just "What do you want?" That's when I realized he was worse than I thought. I slid an envelope across the table. Printed statements. Copies of the wire transfers. Screenshots of the fake entries. "I want you to disappear," I said. "From me. From this town. From anything connected to my name." "And if I don't?" he asked. "I report you to the company. To the IRS. And if that's not enough, I send this to your father, who I'm guessing doesn't know you've been committing fraud under his name, too." He stared at the envelope. Didn't touch it. "You wouldn't do that," he said, but his voice shook. I stood up. I already did. Then I walked out. I didn't turn around. It took 3 days before the fallout started. The first was a call from Dan at work. Hey, he said, voice tight. I got a very angry voicemail from someone claiming we made a mistake firing Denise. Said he had legal grounds to sue. Mentioned your name more than once. Brian? I asked, already knowing the answer. Dan sighed. Yeah. Look, I'm not worried. We've got more than enough documentation. But I need to know, are you okay with this escalating? I was. In fact, I wanted it to. Let him come, I said. 2 days later, Denise showed up in the building. She wasn't there to see me, she went straight to Dan. Security had to escort her out, but not before she threw a manila folder down on his desk and screamed something about injustice and a family vendetta. Dan told me later her little folder was full of fake accusations. She claimed I'd manipulated my way into the job, that I'd been plotting to replace her for years, that I had personal dirt on him. Wild stuff. She even had a fake HR complaint form with my name forged on it. But Dan had known me long enough by then. He tossed the folder in the shredder. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. I hope you're proud of yourself. You tore our family apart. No name, but I knew who it was. I didn't respond. But I did call my sister, Kelsey. You remember Denise's ex? I asked. Which one? Trevor, the accountant. Kelsey laughed. The one she cheated on with that gym trainer? Yeah, I said. Think you still have his number? See, Trevor and I had talked a few times back when Denise used to drag him to family things. He was quiet, polite. He never liked how Denise treated people. One time, he apologized to me after she made a snide comment about me not being fit enough for spin class. I figured if anyone had more dirt on her or Brian, it'd be him. He called me back that same night. Wow, he said. Didn't expect to hear from you. You okay? I'm better than I've been in years, I told him. But I'm trying to clean up a mess. And I think you might be able to help. Turned out Trevor still had an old laptop that Denise used when they lived together. She'd logged into her work email on it more than once and forgot to clear anything. He still had access to a few files. Some emails. A few PDFs with red flags. He agreed to meet up. What he gave me was a gold mine. Email threads between Denise and Brian talking openly about padding numbers, keeping it in the family, and needing a few more quiet transactions before the new audit cycle. Clear as day. No codes. No vague language. I handed the whole folder over to Dan and the company's legal team. That should have been the end. But instead, something else happened. 3 days after I submitted the files, I got a visit at work. Not from Brian. Not from Denise. From an IRS investigator. Apparently, the company had passed everything on, including the fake payroll schemes involving federal funds. It triggered a full investigation. And they weren't just looking at Denise and Brian. They were looking at every connected account, including mine. Even though I had nothing to do with the scheme, my name showed up in a few emails times Denise copied me when we were family planning events, or when Brian used my shared Gmail to forward himself payroll docs. I wasn't a suspect. But I was now involved. The agent asked me to come in for a formal interview. As I sat there, answering questions in a cold, gray room, I realized something. They hadn't just embarrassed me. They'd almost dragged me down with them. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about survival. And I wasn't done yet. The IRS interview lasted 2 hours. They were polite, but direct. They showed me emails with my name, bank account routing numbers that passed through our joint account. Money I never touched, but technically had access to. I explained everything. Calm, steady, honest. I brought proof. The dates I left, the lack of activity on my side, the credit card records showing I was 3 cities away when those payments happened. They nodded, took notes. Before I left, one of them said something that stuck with me. You were lucky. Most people in your spot wouldn't have come out clean. I walked out shaking. That night, I called Brian. I needed to hear his voice when I said it. You dragged me into a federal case, I said. You used my name. My bank account. He didn't deny it, just went quiet. Then he said, "You don't understand. Denise told me it was legal. She said it was just creative compensation. I thought she had it under control." "Then why didn't you tell me?" I asked. His voice dropped. "Because I knew you'd leave if I did." He wasn't wrong. "You're going to prison, Brian," I said. "And when you do, I'm not showing up. Not for a call. Not for a visit." A week later, federal charges were filed. Wire fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. Brian and Denise were both arrested. Local news picked it up. It made headlines for 3 days. Small-town gossip turned federal scandal. I watched the report from my office at Tri-County. No one said anything, but I knew they all saw it. I saw the looks. One coworker left a sticky note on my desk. "You cleaned house. Don't let anyone forget it." Brian pled guilty to avoid a longer sentence. He got 4 years. Denise tried to fight it, claimed she was set up. Her trial went on for weeks. She lost 7 years in federal prison. I didn't go to either sentencing. I didn't write a victim impact statement. I didn't need to. The silence said enough. Months passed. I moved into a small apartment near my office. Simple, clean, mine. No one's name on the lease but mine. Kelsey visited sometimes. We'd sit on the porch and laugh at how things turned out. "Remember when she said you didn't work?" she'd say. "Now I'm working her job," I'd reply. But the truth was, I made mistakes too. I let it all go on too long. I stayed silent for years. I let myself be humiliated because I thought I needed to keep the peace. I thought marriage meant swallowing every bitter thing just to keep the picture pretty. Never again. One afternoon, a letter came in the mail. No return address. Inside was a short note. "I never should have toasted. I'm sorry." No name. Just a prison address in Illinois. I folded it once, slid it into a drawer, locked it. Then I went back to work. Because that's what I do now.